BK back at you. Finishing up some bacon here on the stove. I just do it in a pot here. At pretty low temperature. Get a little sizzle there. See a little bit of char happening. But I like my bacon still wiggly. I like the wiggly bacon. I prefer it. Especially if you do how I do, in the sense of trying to food prep. So this bacon, by and large, will be reheated as well. So you should definitely always take that into consideration when you cook just about anything. If you know it's going to be cooked a second or even third time, heat it up at any rate, right? Because you would prefer to heat it up past 165 degrees internally to kill bacteria. So it does cook it. So you see we have this wiggly bacon here, but that's not the whole story, right? Try to get off as much the grease as I can anyway. There'll still be some in the bottom of the pan, or the Pyrex here that I'm putting it in. And then we have this bad boy here. Sometimes when doing wiggly bacon, it's a good idea to go ahead and continue to cook it down some, the grease, just to rid it of any moisture that might be left over in it, as that will allow the grease to spoil at a much faster rate than if you have the moisture out of it. So typically I will continue to have it on that lower temperature, but for video purposes, I'll kind of flash it real quick and see if that helps. See, I'm trying to break the stuff off the bottom so it doesn't scorch any more than it has at any rate. And then afterwards, once you're feeling pretty good about the moisture content, which if you do crispy bacon, you probably won't have to worry about the moisture content at that point, because it would have had sufficient time to cook off. So, but for my wiggly bacon folks, you see how there's a lot more bubbles here from the water boiling off. You know, it's not just because I'm agitating the stuff on the bottom. So that's getting pretty close. We come over here just real quick while I don't have to do the work for it. I pulled this straight out of the fridge. It's still solid. You can maybe see how clear it is. I know the lighting's not great, but very white. Little bit of sediment there on the bottom, but overall pretty pure. And all I do is run it through this little strainer that I have. Typically the cutting board's not in there, but cutting board needs a little work done on it. So, and I just strain it like that. I have a friend, Dojison. He says that he runs it through a coffee strainer. So that could be something else that you could try. I don't really do coffee. And if I did, I would grind my own stuff and then just run it through the little Keurig with the reusable, whatever you call it, cup. So if your pan's hot, super hot, this is definitely hot. But if it's heavier than this, you're having trouble managing it with one hand, you can grab a towel. Use a towel to help you handle the heat there on the side. Nothing wrong with that. So you saw that that fat was still solid and right out of the fridge here. So the glass is cool as well. And I know that before ever doing this, I was definitely quite a bit more concerned with the glass maybe shattering or breaking. I've done this, I can't tell you how many times, and typically right out of the fridge as well, or pretty close to it. I've never had an issue with that. And the pan typically is not this hot either. I turned the temperature up to just flash the moisture out, but I typically leave it at a low temperature so nothing scorches, and we keep a nice smoky but not charred flavor to the grease that we have. That's just my personal preference. You can do it any way that you like, but maybe you learned something, maybe you enjoyed something, maybe you just like talking about bacon. So thank you so much for joining me, and until next time. Here is the final product before it cools and congeals. We see a little bit of sediment right here on the edge, but in all reality, not much at all. And it'll all sink and consolidate like that as well. So the vast majority of scooping through here and using any will be, extremely pure.